It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show. It's the Andy Snowden Radio Show.
Yes, indeed, you lemon squeezy. It is I, Andy Snowden, with the Stage and Screen Show here each and every Saturday from 12 until 3 p.m. for your delectation while you eat your lunch. And now it is time for our second guest of the day. And he comes in the form of Mr. Ray Quinn. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's had an incredible career so far. First came to the public's attention with his award-winning performance as Anthony Murray in Brookside, and has more recently returned to his acting roots, playing Johnny Baxter in Hollyoaks. And in 2006 he auditioned for the third series of The X Factor, finishing second only to Leona Lewis. And in 2009 Ray stunned TV viewers with his amazing ice skating skills on Dancing on Ice, winning that series and then returning in 2014 to take the Champion of Champions title. Last month he released his brand new album Undeniable, and he joins us now. And Ray, it's been a funny old year, hasn't it? Have you coped okay?
Oh, well, we cope, mates, but there's nothing else we can do apart from doing that, to be honest. I mean, the glass always is half full with me, and that's just the way I live my life. But I mean, the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, you know, I was a fan. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the time off with my family, and then, you know, a couple of drinks and a few barbecues, and then it got to a point where I was like, right, well, this is getting a bit ridiculous, so I'm looking forward to sort of, you know, getting back to normal, and I think that's what most of us really want now. I think we're just a bit bored of it. I'm sick of hearing the word social distancing. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything about it, really. I mean, exactly what you just said then. When it first started, it was a novelty, and everyone was kind of, you know, everyone was on an early summer holiday, and then suddenly we're all going, right, enough's enough. Come on.
Yeah, I think everybody's had enough now, and I don't blame them, to be honest, mate. It's a life-changing thing, and even now, you know, people are still having to adapt and still having to change things, and we go into shops now and we've got our masks on. You know, life isn't going to be the same, but I'm hoping that one day it will, and I guess it's just one of those things that everybody's just got to do the right thing, the next right thing, by looking after one another, keeping your distance, and wearing your mask wherever possible, really.
Yeah, definitely. And you seem to me to be the kind of guy that's has always had performing in his nature. Is that always been the case? Was that always the dream for you?
Yeah, it was always going to be. Even when I was a little kid, I was performing in front of the telly and enjoying Top of the Pops on a Friday or Saturday night, whatever it was. And yeah, I started singing when I was about 12 or 13. I was probably a late starter to the whole singing thing, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do, or in fact, I knew it was something I needed to do in order for me to be like, you know, that triple threat, as my teacher would say. You know, you need to be able to have as many things underneath your belt so that when it comes to auditions and shows, and, you know, you might have that extra ability that, you know, the other guy didn't have, and that helps you get the job. So I was always taught to have as many tricks under your book as possible. But, you know, you say that saying, don't they? Jack of all trades, master of none. But
yeah.
But I believe you can be a jack of all trades and master of plenty. You know, I feel like whatever you set your mind to, if you really want it and you're passionate about it, dreams can, you know, come to reality, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that is no truer word for somebody like yourself, and we're going to talk about some of those things in a moment. But I want to talk to you about Brookside. When you auditioned for Brookside, was that your first acting professional job?
Yeah, that was my first ever audition, never mind job. I'd never auditioned before, so that was like, you know, I was in a dance school after school. I was doing drama on a Saturday, as any other boy or girl does today, you know. And Colette Byers at the time, who was my agent / second mother, she said to me, I've got auditions. She said, I'm starting an agency, and I've got a batch of auditions, and I'd really like you to go for one, and represent the dance school on my behalf. I said, oh, yeah, of course, And she said it was for Brookside, and I was like, oh my gosh, because my nanny, God rest her soul, when she was alive, her favourite programme was Brookside. You couldn't get it away from the telly. So when I said that I was auditioning for it, well, that was it then. I think the whole family became obsessed with me and what I do for a living, and still to this day always do. Yeah. I can't go around to my mum's without her saying, so what you're up to now? I guess it's slightly a bit more interesting than whatever they're doing.
Well, you're absolutely right, though, because, I mean, at the time, Brookside was absolutely huge, wasn't it? I mean, it was, people look back on it now and sort of go, oh, it wasn't there that long, but it was there a good 20 years.
Yeah, it was absolutely there, 20 years, it was 21 years it was on screen, and, it's been off screen longer, but still, people talk about it, and that's the true outline of a fantastic product, if you like, a fantastic TV show. I mean, Brookside, the brand and what it stood for, and the actors that were involved, and the production that was there, and obviously Phil Redman was his baby, and he had the Close, and yeah, it was heartbreaking for most of us when the Close was sold, but the legacy still remains, and to this day.
But to get a decent child actor is it's almost like winning the lottery. But you were a phenomenal child actor. I mean, award-winning, in fact.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we won. So Brookside won Best Storyline for my bullying storyline. And then I picked up Best Dramatic Performance at the Soap Awards in 2002. So it's crazy, really, when I look back and think, wow, was that even me? Did that even happen? But yeah, it did. And I can't thank Brookside really for giving me that opportunity. I'd never done it before. I learned on the job. I soaked up as much information as I could during my time there, being surrounded by fantastic actors and actresses who were already established. So they were very patient with me because I was a naughty little kid, sometimes on set. But I learned the ways of the trade. I learned the ways of, on set, on screen etiquette, everything that involves being professional. So even though I was a kid, I still had to be professional. I was working adult hours. There was never a time when I was not working. In fact, I missed most of my school days because of it, Yeah. And was you... But I wouldn't change it.
No, definitely not. Was Bernie Nolan your mum in it?
Yeah. I mean, we missed it every day.
Yes, indeed. I worked with Bernie on Blood Brothers, and
oh wow, yeah.
What a performer! Talk about professionalism. There's a whole family they ooze professionalism, don't they? The Nolans.
Oh yeah, and I know Colleen. I've been friends with the Nolan family for a long, long time. Ever since I was a kid, Bernie was like my auntie. I grew up with her in my life, and any question I needed to ask her, or I felt a bit silly, or she'd always make me feel amazing. And her nephew Shane, who's Colleen's son, he's been my best mate since we were like 16. So I know Colleen wouldn't mind me saying this, but Bernie just shined. She had a quality about her that was just mind blowing, really, and. I guess that's why she was so successful, because of her passion of what she gave to the industry and what she gave to people. You can't put a price on that, and I think she's sorely missed every day.
Yeah, sorely missed. That's a definite. That is, she's obviously missed by everybody and anybody that's worked with her. She's incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible woman.
Absolutely.
But of course, it was the X Factor that catapulted you into almost everybody's front rooms. But you were only quite young at the time, weren't you? Like 16 at the time?
I was 16. Yeah, well, I was 16. No, I was 17 when I started, and I turned 18 during the show. So when I first auditioned, I was 17. And then when the live show was finally started, I turned 18 on the show. But if it would have been a week or two behind the timeline, I wouldn't have been able to take part because of my age.
Right.
Whereas now, it's all like the allowance for your age is a lot bigger, isn't it?
Yeah. And to go on a show like that, I mean, was it just a case of you'll just go on and have a try, suck it and see type of thing?
Yeah, it was. I never, to be honest, this is me being brutally honest, I never wanted to do the show. My mum and my dad sort of basically said, can you not do it for us? And I was watching I was watching X Factor when Shane Ward was on it, and we were having a Chinese and in the house, and my mum went, "You could do that." And I was like, "Yeah, of course I could." And she was like, "Would you?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And she'd basically gone online and ordered the form. And like one form came through the door, and I thought, oh well, maybe that's just a bit of luck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then another one came through the door, and then when the third one came through, I was thinking, yeah, something's going on here. Yeah. And I was washing my little Ford Fiesta on core 1.3 outside of the front of my mum's house, and she said, "These applications have come for your son. Do you want to do it?" And I went, "Mum, I've said to you, I want to go to college. I've just got my placement there. You know, I feel like I need to do all that first before. I just don't want to be on telly yet or whatever like that, you know." And I think the part of it all was I was just fearful. I think I was a bit nervous, a bit worried, a bit scared about like what would happen if I didn't win or if I didn't, because I was even now I'm still a bit competitive. So the risk of that was scaring me more than the actual show itself. Anyhow, my dad came outside afterwards and said, "Listen, what day is it tomorrow?" I said, "Father's Day." He said, "Well, would you do that for me for Father's Day? Just go for your mum because she thinks she's going to be amazing in it." So I did, and that was it.
Parents always know best, man.
Never look back.
Absolutely. And I always think now, because I'm a dad of 3, and I know you're a dad as well, but looking back,
yeah.
And I always think about the parents. I mean, the criticisms and everything that they're having to sit there watching their kids, especially after they've sung their heart out. It must have been. It's quite difficult for the parents.
Yeah, but I also don't think you should be giving children like false hopes. You know, if I see my lad and he loves playing football, but he's better at basketball. So even though I won't stamp on his dreams, but I certainly won't give him a harsh reality. But I'll encourage him to do the thing that he's really good at, you know. And I'll take him in the park and I'll say, "Come on, basketball practice," because I can see he loves it. I can see the passion he's got for it. But I can also see a little talent there. And, you know, he's only 3 foot something. But he can't half get the ball into a 10.5 foot net. Yeah. With no problem at all. He's got a natural eye for it. So, you know, we have a performing arts academy, me and my missus, in Formby, and we've got girls who come and sing with us, and they've said, you know, "Am I ready for an audition?" And we'll be honest and say, you know, "Well, not just yet. I wouldn't want to put you under that pressure without knowing you are completely confident within yourself, and I'm confident within you as a performer, as an artist, to go ahead and go forward with the right mindset, because if you're going in with the false pretenses that everything's going to be fine and it's an easy ride and I can sing, you know, get other opinions other than your mum, because your mum's going to support me opening a tin of beans, you know what I mean?" So you've got to have that sense of stability and support from somebody who's not family, somebody who's like, the thing is, I only know myself, I've always been brought up, if I'm not good and I've done a really bad job, my dad is never afraid to tell me. And I respect him for that. Yeah. Because if there was ever a moment in my life and I went on stage, and I know deep down in my heart I didn't give it my all, because either we're all human, you know, I was tired, or I was irritable, or I was hungry. Anything that comes into mind emotionally that can throw you off path, he'll say to me, "I've seen you do it better." And that used to break me heart, but I knew that was the harsh reality. But if you can't accept that, your own reality, your own decisions, you know, it's difficult to sort of put that pressure on somebody else and then resent them for it in the end once you've had the rejection and walked away. That's the tough bit, you know. But yeah, I was always encouraged because I was good at it, you know, and I weren't good at it at the start. I had to put in effort. I never used to sing. In fact, I'm still learning now. Everybody still learns. I'm not proclaiming to be the best singer of them all, but I can sing now technically because I've been taught that way. Everyone says, "Oh, nobody, you know, it's a talent to sing. You've got to, you know, you've got it or you haven't." Well, I had to work at it because I wasn't a natural singer. You know, I worked at it and I worked at it and I worked at it. And in the end, I'm happy with what I've got. Yeah. And then you can work with what you've got, but you need that support from elsewhere rather than, you know, people telling you, "You're great, you could be a pop star." You know, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
No. I completely agree. And I think a lot of young kids now, they see the finished product and think, I want that. But they have absolutely no concept of the knockbacks and the rejection that's in this business is unbelievable, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I remember asking my niece a while back, and I said, "What do you want to be when you grow older?" I mean, this was years ago. She said, "I want to be famous," and that sent shivers up my spine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "No, you don't."
But this is the thing. This is the thing for you on the X Factor, because it was such a close run thing at the end of the final, and you couldn't really second guess who was going to win. I mean, Leona Lewis was phenomenal, and you had such a massive fan base. I mean, was you aware of how close it was?
I've seen the books afterwards, and there was a lot of like different opinions, because sometimes I heard that there was like about 5,000 votes in it, and then sometimes I heard there was like over 100,000 votes in it. But none of that really mattered to me. I never really asked those questions. To be honest, I'd already succeeded in what it is I set out to do, and that was get to the final. I didn't want to go into a show like that and be remembered. This was me back then in my head. I didn't want to go into a show like that and be remembered as the guy off the X Factor, who made it to boot camp and then got kicked out because he was a failure or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I know that's wrong now, because I wouldn't look at it in that way. But back then it meant so much to me, and they say, oh, it means so much to me, it means the world to me. That's why. Because you've got that pressure of not being that guy or that girl that tried and didn't make it, that rejection,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think any of us knew when we were living in that little house in London, or the mansion, as you say. We didn't know how big it was until we come outside of the show. The show was done, and then we started doing our own shows and touring and gigs. And, the people would come. Like, I remember I opened the Met Court in Liverpool, and about 10,000 people turned up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
For me. And I remember thinking, this is mental, but it's crazy. But,
But mate, I mean, we as a family, we used to sit down, like yourselves by the sounds of it, we used to sit down and have a chippy tea or a Chinese or something on a Saturday night, and we used to, like a lot of families back then, there seemed to be a lot of people got turned off by it in the later days. But in the early days, it was such a massive, probably the biggest show on the TV.
yeah.
My daughter reminded me yesterday that she cried when you didn't win. She did.
Yeah, I think my brother did. He put a bet on as well. My brother said, "There's no way I'm ever betting on you ever again." And I said, "Listen, you'll regret it when I do Dance on the Night, because I'm going to win that show." And you can bet your bottom dollar he did, because he never put a bet on thinking I'd lose, and I won twice.
Good. I got to ask you about Dancing on Ice. That was something else. That, I mean, was that a skill that you already had, or did you learn that? I mean,
no, I learned that during the show. So we learned that during the show. We had 3 months to prepare for the first opening night live on screen. I was the most nerve-wracking time of my life. I've never felt scared in all my life doing something that was completely out of my comfort zone. But I love the show. I love the opportunity of skating with Chris and Jane and learning from the best. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been 10 years of my life dancing on ice. 10 years of my life with tours and TV shows and specials and things like that. So fun memories, really fun memories.
But when you watch that programme, I mean, some people are dreadful, some people are okay, some are really good, and then every now and again you get someone like you who, you're looking at them thinking, they could be like in the Olympics, these lads. I mean, some of the, I mean, Suzanne, what was Suzanne's second name? Can't remember.
Shaw.
Suzanne Shaw, she was superb as well, wasn't she?
Yeah. The thing is with the show, like, it's all smoke and mirrors, I think, because, it looks good if you can move a bit and skate around and do a few lifts and tricks, but there's so much, it's a completely underrated discipline. I mean, it's a tough sport to master, and, I can do jumps and skate backwards and forwards and things like that, and it looks like, oh, wow, you can skate. But then when you start asking me to do, like, Chris was trying to get me to do an axel and spins in the air, and all that's very, very technical. I don't think that's something can be taught once you pass a certain age, because I feel like, even as a dancer, the position and everything about it is all wrong. It's not like you can't turn out. You can't really cross your legs because the blade will go in your shin. You can't swing your arms or spin your head and spot like I've been taught all my life when I'm dancing. It's all very structured, disciplined. So there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, especially what you see on the TV. You see your lifts and you're skating forwards and backwards and your partner work. And it is all about, that's why it's called dancing on ice rather than skating on ice, because I feel like if it was just purely about the skating and it was marked technically, you'd have a different scoreline, you know? It's more about the effort and it's more about the commitment you give to the sport during the show that gets you to the end, you know?
Yeah.
And I give it 110% from the get-go. But that's the way I've always been.
But I mean, you say those moves. I mean, some of them, like the headbanger, for argument's sake. I mean, that looks terrifying, regardless of which partner you are. It's horrible for the girls and horrible for the bloke who has to spin them. It makes everyone feel sick watching it, so it must be awful to do it.
Yeah, well, the girls have got to do a certain amount in that, you know, keeping their shoulders away and keeping their head facing upwards so that they don't smash their head or whatever. There's all just little bits like, you know, when she crosses her legs, she's got to hold tight so that his grip doesn't go. And yeah, it's a fantastic sport, a huge discipline, but magical at the same time. I really enjoyed the show. I've enjoyed skating, but yeah, my boots are hung up now for a while.
Yeah, good. Is there a point on that show when you're at your kind of standard where you think, oh, I've got this now, or is there always that chance that somebody else is going to win?
No, every time you step onto the ice, mate, the ice is never your friend. It'll always catch you out when you don't really expect it, and then you're on your backside, and that's just the way it is. It's unpredictable, so you can feel like you're getting good, and your confidence grows, and you push that a little bit more, and then it gets a bit too much for your experience, and then it'll knock you for six and fly you over to the west. So it's up to you really, and how much you go and how much you don't. But yeah, you've got to be fearless to take on that show. You've got to be completely fearless. Yeah.
But I always think if you're good, the following week you have to be really good. Then you have to be very, very good. You can't take a step back one week and everyone think, well, he was quite good in week one or anything. It doesn't work like that. But I can remember.
But it's that show, isn't it?
Pardon, say again.
I say it's that type of show, isn't it? It's all. Yeah. It's the drama. It's the most dangerous show on TV, I guess. You know, so we've got to keep you entertained. You know.
I remember you saying one week that you used to spend your Saturday afternoons at the Deeside Leisure Centre, and I live about 5 minutes from the Deeside Leisure Centre, and you can imagine everybody in Deeside going, "Ooh, that's us." But loads of people, everyone used to come over from Brookside on a Saturday. It was like everyone come over to North Wales and.
Oh, absolutely. North Wales is my second home. It's where my caravan is and everything.
Brilliant.
I wouldn't have it any other way. My mum's been there 20 odd years more. My auntie's got a caravan there. That was like my holiday place, you know.
Well, we've just had a holiday in North Wales, and we live in North Wales, and because we couldn't go anywhere this year, we were going, oh, where should we go? And we ended up going to Carnarvon. Down my uncle's got a caravan there, and we were like, we should do this more often. You never see it when you live here.
Well, that's the thing. You'll discover things that you never thought you'd do before, you know. Whereas, all the foreign countries at the moment seem like a million miles away, you know, with everything. So, yeah, staycation is the way forward, and I think there's nothing wrong with it at all. I've been camping all my life and caravanning, and
yeah,
I think it's great. It's great for the kids. It's an aspect of adventure. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you say you pointed out that you won twice on Dancing on Ice, but your winning streak continued with a show called Get Your Act Together, which again, your ability to turn your hand to something that was quite alien to you is it's quite phenomenal, really, to do impressions as well as you did. Again, is this something that you could do before, or did you learn it all for the show?
I've always took the mick out of people. I think my dad taught me how to do that. Just copying people and my dad's really good at George Formby and all that, and he's dead good at Mr. Grimsdale and all that. So all my life I've been sort of taking the mick out of people and trying to copy them, and then But then when I got into the show, it was serious, and I had to look and sound exactly how it was, otherwise it just wouldn't go down well. So again, the fear of imperfection for me was the biggest challenge. Again, I just watched YouTube channels, and any challenge, I take it to the next level. It's got to be perfect, otherwise I won't do it.
So for that show, did they give you the skill to master, or did you say, well, I'll do impressions? How did it work?
Well, somebody broke their leg or something and couldn't do the show and pulled out the show, so they had to fill the gap. And they had a week before the first live show. And I got a call saying, do you want to do it? And I was like, oh, sound, it might be something physical. Because at the time I was quite fit, as in physically. And I was going to the gym a bit. And I was working out loads. And probably the fittest I've ever been physically. And then they phoned up and went, no, it's impressions. And I just went, oh, how much? I said, yeah, impressions, how much? And he said whatever it was, and I said, okay, I'll do it.
But the thing with impressions, you have to be really good, or don't forget about it, because, you know, some people, if they go on Britain's Got Talent and they're kind of okay, people go, nah, don't think so. But if some of your impressions, you're Alan Carr, you close your eyes, it could have been Alan Carr. It was phenomenal.
No, he tweeted me afterwards saying, get your own act.
Oh, brilliant. And it's unsurprising, really, that you performed in many West End musicals and toured the country in musicals. Playing Danny Zuko in Greece, that must have been... Is that the highlight of your musical career?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely one of the highlights. I've been lucky enough to have many, but yeah, Danny in Greece was always like a bucket list of mine, and I was so pleased that I got the chance to fulfill it, you know, and I probably wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had the opportunities presented to me before, like the X Factor and Dance the Night, you know. So yeah, I was over the moon, absolutely over the moon.
Have you never been asked to do Blood Brothers? I would have thought you'd have been ideal.
I don't know whether Bill Kimright thinks I'm a red, so I don't know whether you know. I mean, it's all over me car, like it's all over me Facebook, everywhere that I'm a big blue, and yeah, I don't know whether he thinks I'm a red, so I've never had an audition. But hey, listen, who knows? I'd love to do the show. I've always admired the show. Of course, Bernie did it, and a lot of my friends have done it. So yeah, I would never say no to a show like that. So I don't know. Watch the space. I have to give Ken a call next time I go to the game. Yes,
absolutely. Well, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I can remember Bill Kenwright coming into my dressing room, and I had a picture of... Do you remember that famous picture of Robbie Fowler snorting? He looked like he was snorting cocaine, but he wasn't. He was snorting the line. Yeah, and Bill came in and saw that picture and ripped it down.
Oh yeah, he won't have it. He won't have nothing. I bought a car from the same company that he bought his car from, and I picked mine up, and I was like, "Oh, whose is that?" Well, I should have known. Everything was blue. Everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got no sense of humour about his football, Bill.
Oh no. I think he's maybe a bit of a bitter blue, but we all are in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose we better talk about your new album. But,
oh yeah.
It's been lovely speaking to you. But this album, I got to be honest with you, I had to listen to it this morning. It's called Undeniable. Took the dog for a walk and had a cheeky listen. It is absolutely superb, man. I don't mind telling you. And there's so many tracks off it that could go to be singles. I mean, you must be chuffed to bits with it. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, I am chuffed, and thanks for that. Yeah, a lot of people who've listened to it, I guess, weren't expecting it to be sort of like that epic. It's a big band orchestral, you know, bringing that swing era into the 21st century and finding my sound, but you know, trying to collect a contemporary classic span of 4 decades with a 60-piece orchestra. To try and find 12 songs to fit on one album was the difficult part, but getting back into the studio for me was like almost like coming home a little bit. Like, you know, after when you go away for so long and then you come home, like it was like, you know, when you go on holiday or you've been away for a couple of weeks and then you come back and you've got to drive your car again and you feel like, oh my God, I haven't driven for ages. Yeah. It was like that feeling, like, oh, what do I do? Oh, is this right? You know, I loved it. I loved the process. It was 12 months recording in Park Street, and there's two originals on the album, and I called it Undeniable because the artists that I chose to cover are undeniable, and the band were undeniable. So I was trying to fit myself within that bracket to be the same. So still really enjoyed it. I'm so pleased that I finally got another album out after so long. Yeah. And I was the first one to be buying it in the HMV, like.
I bet. But I mean, I can't believe it's only your second album, but your first album, that was quite similar to it, wasn't it? I mean, that was a 48-piece orchestra. It was all recorded in LA. I mean, you can be excused for getting a bit excited.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was there all the time when the strings were in and the brass were in, because of course the tracks were all cut together, ready for me to have it in my ears then to record my vocals. So I guess having the collaboration of the musicians in my headphones, it was almost like it spurred me on to to do more and to give more, because it was almost like I was in competition with them. But then in the end, it was like, it was no longer a battle. It was just like both of us in harmony together. Yeah, it made me want to do better as an artist, as the vocalist, to sort of sit on top of these big records. So yeah, I mean, I always set out to do an album, and I know it's been a long time coming, but it never really felt like the right time until now. And with me getting it all ready finally, and it's all done, I couldn't be happier. Yeah.
And as you say, it's a mixture of covers and original tracks. Is it an easy process to choose songs to cover? Because I imagine when the world's your oyster, it's probably like a kid in a sweet shop, really. So how do you end up choosing the ones that you choose?
I guess it was just a test of what I could physically sing compared to the songs that I love. So, you know, it's one thing enjoying music, but then there's another thing when you've got to come to perform it and sell it and sing it. So, you know, that's what it came down to, really, was keys and arrangements, and also PRS, what we could get away with, what the people who owned the rights to the music would allow us to do. So it was a mixture of all different reasons, but what we had left was, or what we ended up with, was all of the choices I originally chose for the album. But there's some great tracks that haven't made it, so hopefully we'll get a little deluxe album for Kimbo, and they'll all be on there. So I've got like Cliff Richard and Elvis Presley and things like that haven't made this one.
Fantastic.
But yeah, fingers crossed anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Ray, it's been fascinating speaking to you this afternoon. Thanks ever so much for that.
You're welcome, mate. Thank you.
Can you introduce your new single?
All right, fantastic, yeah. So my brand new album, Undeniable, is out now. You can get it in HMV or on my website, rayquinn.co.uk. And this is my brand new single off that album, which is called They Say Love. It's an original song, and it's wonderful. I hope you enjoy it.
Cheers.
Thanks, Rob. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you take care of yourself. That was lovely.
No worries. Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Do you remember when they say love is a loser's game?
Absolutely fantastic. There you go. The brand new one from Ray Quinn. It is called They Say Love, taken from his brand new album. It's called Undeniable. Out now, as Ray said, you can get it from HMV or from his webpage, www.rayquinn.co.uk. There you go, Ray Quinn on the Stage and Screen Show, Calon FM.